Again. Hello, this is Grandma Jan from Red Toad Art Studio. Today we are going to talk about cutting out your images. Now, it sounds so easy. We've probably been cutting since kindergarten days. But when you look at some of the pictures and try to cut them out, we find it's really hard. And a lot of people don't like to fussy cut. In fact, I put it off for years because I said I couldn't go around that stuff and get it cut out. But since I'm learning, I decided to do a lot of research on cutting. And I'm going to pass on some of the things I found that helped me. Now, obviously, if you're cutting out things, you will need scissors. And you'll need two types. Well, this is probably optional. This is the scissors that are bouncing around in your office drawer or your kitchen drawer, and it gets used for everything. And it can still be used in our fussy cutting, we'll call it, to rough cut. And I'll show you that in a second. And besides this one, we will need a very good pair of sharp scissors and smaller scissors. See how much smaller? And some people use scissors that are a lot smaller than this, but I love this pair. These scissors are put out by Tim Holtz, especially for cutting and crafts. So, we are going to find us some things to cut out in our cut and collage book. There's two ways to do fussy cutting. And why do we call it fussy cutting? I don't know for sure, but my opinion is because it's fussy and hard, and we call it fussy cutting. Let's get us a flower here. Now, rough cutting is cutting it off the page. We're not worried about getting close. We're just worried about getting it out of the page and avoiding all of our other images that we want to cut someday. You may have to turn the book to make it easier to cut. There, that was a rough cut. Now we need to fussy cut it. Now, before we do that, let's take any edges or big pieces of paper off our image. Why deal with that when we don't have to? Now, one way a lot of people use is to leave a little edge around your image. Go in and leave a little edge about like that. Can you see that? All the way around it. And if you notice, a lot of the ones you buy are cut this way. This is the easiest way to do it. Just a little white edge, or this paper is cream color, whatever our edge is. So you want to be careful when you do your rough cut, not to go too close so that you have room to do this edge. And just that simple, we have our flower cut. See our white edge here? Now the second way you can do this is to leave no edge. Let's try another one. I have another one out here. Let's rough cut the edges off of this. Now, these are harder because you want to follow this exact line. And if you have the Tim Holtz scissors, they actually have two ways of cutting. If you look closely, you'll see serrated edges, little bitty ones, and it makes a difference whether you cut this way or you cut this way. You'll want to try both ways, and probably is different for all of us which one we prefer. Now I prefer seeing the name here. I guess it just seems right. It's read the right direction and everything. It feels right to me. And then I didn't mention it when we're doing our edge cut, but with our rough cut especially, we're moving the paper, not the scissors. See, my paper is moving and not the scissors. And also, if your blades are slanted a little bit to the right for a right-hander, it's probably different if you're left-handed. You can see exactly where your blades are headed and where they're going to cut. And that's very important. So, move the paper and slant your blades. See how easy that makes it? I'm no expert yet. I'm learning to do this. I've been practicing a lot lately and fussy cutting several things out. And I struggle with it, but I'm hoping as I practice I will get better. It's very important to your collaging to be able to cut things out nicely. Now, one thing, I'll stop here. See this? We tend to think of it as an apple. We'll try to take the skin off of an apple with a knife, and we want to go around to see how long our skin can get, our thing can get here hanging down. This is not an apple. When you come to a spot and you're going this way, just go ahead and clip that off. Don't fight with it all the way around. See how much easier it is to deal with this now? Now you can do that as many times as you want on an image. I can do it there, and I could say I could do it here if I had a lot left. Just remember, it's a picture, it's an image, not an apple. And there is my fussy cut image. See how they look different? They're both good, they're just different. Now there's another type of picture I will find in here. Let's see. Let's find a picture that has jagged edges on it. I think there's one. Oh, here's one. Look at all these jagged edges. Let me show you a tip for cutting those easier. Speaking of cutting, you will probably want a craft knife. Mine is an X-Acto craft knife because you'll need to go close to the edge in these books to get your picture out. And it's hard to get in there with a pair of scissors. Let's do a rough cut. Be sure I haven't got 2 pages here. Let's do our rough cut. I have to check, be sure I've not got 2 pages here. That happens on magazines sometimes. The paper is so thin. It's easy to grab 2 pages. Now, here's a little hint. Let's finish rough cutting. Let's rough cut as close to these petals as possible. Now, I haven't really seen other people do this too much, but I find it easier. This is just optional. When you have a lot of jagged things, let's go to one side of what's jagged. Like I'm going to go up that side of the petal, and I'm going to go up that side on every petal. Clear around. And when you've done them all, you just backtrack and go on the other side, and your piece of paper falls right out. To me, it makes it a lot easier on a jag. Another thing is, while you're fussy cutting, try not to get in a hurry. Hurrying doesn't help for neatness any. And if it doesn't come out, don't pull it on it real hard. You can tug on it a little bit, but you're likely to tear your piece if you pull very hard, and that makes you very unhappy. But remember, if you tear a piece, it's not the end of the world. The other thing we use a lot is glue, and you can glue them together on your backing. Now I'm going to show you. I cut this way. This is the way a lot of people cut this way. They stay with it and turn the paper big time. This works too. whichever way is most comfortable to you. See how I'm turning the paper? Try both ways and see what one you like the best. As I say, fussy cutting takes time. Don't hurry. And here I can cut my apple peel off. There we go. And it gets a little easier to go around and around it. Almost got it. There we go. There's our 3 pictures. Now I want to show you another one. If you notice, these tiny little stems are terrible for cutting next to the edge. And say, for example, bugs and butterflies. If you ever tried to cut out a butterfly and cut out its antenna, it doesn't work too easy, does it? A hint on the butterflies and the bugs that have antenna, just cut the antenna off, and when you glue it back to your page, draw them in. That's much easier than trying to get those tiny little antenna. But there's a different kind of thing, like this page. You'll never get around all of those, so what is the answer to getting around all those little specks and spots? Skinny one again. If you're doing this one, leave a little bit of space, and I'll show you a trick in a minute for hiding that. Now, we've got this. I guess it would be possible to go around all of these little spots, but this is a type of picture it may be easier to leave an edge. Let's see. Now, I need to get it out of the book without hurting any other pictures. We'll rough cut it out. Now, let's try cutting this out and leaving the edge. A good sized edge, in fact, is the easiest way to do this. Now remember, when you're doing the edge, you still cut the same way. Move the paper, not the scissors. Cut the apple peel. There we go. You see how nice that looks? And yet we didn't have to try to go in and get every one of those white spaces, which I think would be impossible. Now let me check my notes and see if I remembered everything. Here is a very important tip you'll want to know. It was one of the first ones I saw that helped me tremendously. Get an ink pad and a stamper. And here's the one I cut close to the edge. Now I have vintage ink. It's kind of a brown. It depends though on what you're doing, what color you'll want to do. But if you just go along the edge of your picture, it will cover up that little white bits of paper that you see along these edges, and it will blend it in so much better with on your page. Just around the edges. I'm not putting a lot, it's just a little bit. But see how that blended it in? I would also wanted to do it on this kind because I have little white spots showing around those edges. And I want to cover those up. Now, if there's a lot of greenery, like if you're doing a lot of stems and leaves, use green ink, and this will help blend it in. There we go. This could be done, but you know, this doesn't look too bad. I don't think I would do this one. It'll be your choice on every picture whether you do it or not. Now, we talked about having 2 pairs of scissors. There's one more thing you will need, and we mentioned that, is a good, sharp craft knife. Now, I don't know if you realize it, because I didn't think about it. I knew it, I guess, that there's different sizes of craft knives. So, my husband bought me this set the other day, and I just love it. There's a knife for big, heavy cutting, like if you're cutting cardboard. There's a medium-sized knife. And then there's a smaller knife. It's about the size of a pencil. And there's all kinds of different blades to go with them. Now, I haven't experimented. I've stayed with this little knife and the blade it had in it, and I really love cutting with this. So, scissors and a craft knife. Possibly, if you want to, ink and a dauber. Now, I haven't been doing this very long, and comparatively easy cutting out of these books because they're nice thick pages. I found what I'm cutting in a magazine, it's a whole different story because their pages are very flimsy. It's easy to tear them. They're harder to hold on. And I think it's just going to take practice. And you'll use the same methods I just mentioned by either leaving an edge, taking the edge off, moving the picture, not your scissors, and inking edges. So remember all those things, and it's just a matter of practice, practice, practice. It's like other things. It should be easy, but it's not necessarily easy. Well, I think that's mainly it. Again, sharp scissors, definitely sharp scissors, a sharp X-Acto knife, and to cut out little spaces in between, like elbows. When you're cutting out a person, there'll be a space between their arm and their waist. These X-Acto knives are good for that. Move the picture and not your scissors. And then remember, it's not an apple. And you can ink your pictures. Well, I hope some of these tips help you. They helped me a lot, so I wanted to pass them on. And have fun fussy cutting and collaging. Well, bye-bye for now, and I hope you have a good time.